Hello and welcome. If your habit of worrying and being nervous about the future is causing difficulties in your daily life, then the book, How to Stop Worrying and Start Living, is exactly written for you by Dale Carnegie. It was written in 1948, and in this book you will learn how worry will destroy your life. A 3-step guide to worry-free. Banishing mental and emotional fatigue. Let's start with the detailed summary.
Chapter number 1.
Worry will destroy your life if you let it. How often do you sit down and let your mind wander? Do you then allow yourself to overthink? Do you then start worrying about what happened in the past, feel bad about what happened, and then panic about what may come in the future? These are all common problems of modern times. We spend time living in the past or the future. We forget to enjoy the here and now. Dale Carnegie understood this from an early age, and his teachings still apply today, perhaps even more so than before. Today we are more connected than ever, but we are more stressed than ever was. Be more aware of your triggers and create a plan to overcome them. If you're someone who struggles with overthinking or constantly worrying about what might happen, learning to curb the constant worry and learn to live in the moment will be a huge positive for you. This is, of course, something we could all benefit from, but certainly some more than others. The benefits of focusing on eliminating worry from your life are truly far-reaching. Not only will you notice the joy that is all around you, but by not being constantly pulled down by fear and worry, you will create stronger relationships. Dale Carnegie's advice has never been more relevant than it is today. And when you take it to heart and create a plan to break free, you'll find your life lighter, happier, and ultimately healthier.
Chapter number 2.
Banish your worries by living firmly in the present moment. One of the main reasons for worry and stress is that we no longer live in the present moment. We are either lamenting over something that happened in the past, or stressing over something that hasn't even happened yet or maybe never will. Dale Carnegie explains an idea first introduced by Sir William Osier, professor of medicine, when he teaches us to live in daily tight compartments. This means you should live in a compartment that is firmly here and now. This does not mean that you should not start planning for tomorrow and the future, but the best way to do this is to live to the best of your ability today, creating opportunities for the time to come. By focusing on the tasks at hand now, you can do better and avoid further anxiety. Most people do not realize that the power to control our thoughts is in our own hands. Good thinking is positive and causes us to plan constructively, but bad thinking leads to stress, tension, and the possibility of a nervous breakdown. Why focus instead on living your life today until bedtime and not think beyond that? Dale Carnegie gives the example of a lady who became desperate and almost suicidal after the death of her husband. Everything changed when she learned to live in the moment and look for nothing but bedtime. She heard the words, "Every day is a new life for a wise man," and it completely changed her life for the better.
Chapter number 3.
A 3-step guide to worry-free. Banishing your worries will be as simple as using the 3-step guide that Dale Carnegie gave to Willis H. Carrier, a famous engineer. First, take this situation and analyze it before deciding what the worst possible outcome will be. Then, accept the worst-case scenario and keep it in perspective. If you lose your job, it won't be good, but you can always get another one. Finally, make an effort to improve this worst-case scenario by recreating it as a positive. As we mentioned before, if you lose your job, you can get a new one, but also a better one. Maybe one that you enjoy more or with a better salary. Take a look at how to deal with worry in 3 steps. First, analyze the problem. Find out what the worst-case scenario is, and then understand how we could improve it. Thanks to this, you don't have to worry about anything. The worst-case scenario in life happens very rarely. Understanding how you would overcome it if it did happen will help you feel more in control and confident. This guide can be used in any situation, with any concern or worry you may have. Entrepreneurs who don't know how to deal with worries die early. Dr. Alexis Carroll. We focus a lot on health issues like smallpox and other diseases, giving vaccinations, and raising awareness. Yet you rarely hear about the significant health risks of worry and anxiety. Concerns can cause stomach ulcers, which, if left untreated, can be fatal, arthritis and rheumatism, dental caries, an overactive thyroid gland that can lead to complete burnout. High blood pressure affects the heart. Anxiety can manifest itself in physical symptoms that seriously damage your health and at the same time damage your mental health.
Chapter number 4.
Face your fears and analyze them to clear your mind. When you learn to analyze your worries, you will gain a clearer mind and eventually realize that there is nothing to spend time worrying about. Dale Carnegie gives the example of one of the most successful businessmen in Asia. He places his success on the ability to analyze your fears, as this allows you to explore the reason for your fears. To do this, it uses a similar model to the one we mentioned earlier. Identify the problem, identify the cause of the problem, come up with a list of possible solutions to that problem, and then shortlist it for the best solution. When you analyze the problem, you start dealing with your worries in an organized and focused way. It takes the emotional aspect out of you and allows you to think with greater clarity. Strategic thinking will help you overcome any eventuality. If you know that you can handle anything that comes your way, it will give you confidence and strength. It's never easy to think clearly when your mind is spinning and you can't focus on one thing. When you take the time to calm down and be methodical, you have a much better chance of not only deciding on a course of action, but the right one, and one that will give you the most spectacular result available.
Chapter number 5.
Being busy takes your mind off your daily worries. The best way to break the destructive cycle of worry is to fill your mind with other things, so there is no room for anxiety to creep in. Psychology teaches us that any mind on Earth cannot focus on more than one thing at a time. This means that if you stay busy and fill your mind with other things, you won't spend time dwelling on worries. Winston Churchill famously said, "I'm too busy. I don't have time to worry," at the height of the war, when he made the big decisions that shaped the future of the world. Dale Carnegie also gives us a moving example of a former student who lost 2 of his children. His surviving child, crippled with grief, asked him to make him a toy ship. Of course, he didn't want to, but he did it anyway. He realized that while he was concentrating on building that ship, he wasn't thinking about his worries. Stay busy, make plans, and stick to them, and you won't have room in your brain to worry. Most of our worries seem huge at the moment, but when we look back, perhaps during difficult times, we realize that we spent a lot of time worrying about trivial things.
Chapter number 6.
Last question. What are the odds? Ask yourself clearly how likely it is that the event or thing you fear will happen. When you stop asking yourself this question, you realize that most of the things that worry us have a statistically very small chance of actually occurring in real life. Most of the things we worry about are extremely unlikely to ever happen. As a child, Dale Carnegie was terrified of thunderstorms, was struck by lightning, and was buried alive. A few years later, he realized how ridiculous those fears were because, by the law of averages, it was doubtful that they would ever happen. We can usually get rid of the vast majority of worries by putting them into perspective and asking ourselves if they have any chance of actually happening. We should also learn to accept the things we cannot change and adapt to life as it is. When something adverse happens in life, the human ability to adapt and survive is amazing. We tend to spend too much time and effort on things that aren't worth it. This is true of worry when we keep thinking and thinking about a situation and getting more and more anxious about it in our minds. Instead, we should ask, how much worry is it worth? At what point do we have to stop worrying and accept the situation as it is? When you find yourself in a cycle of worry and anxiety, stop and ask yourself, where is your stop-loss point? i.e., at which point you stop worrying and let it go. By giving each worry a limit, you prevent it from controlling you and becoming a huge, swirling mass of anxiety. I know that one of the most unfortunate things about human nature is that we all learn to put off life. We all dream of some special magical rose garden beyond the horizon, instead of enjoying the roses blooming outside our windows today. Dale Carnegie.
Chapter number 7.
Changing your attitude will help you move toward happiness. Happiness is a choice. This is something everyone has heard before, but it's also true. Fear is also a choice because we have the power to change our thoughts and therefore banish fear if we work hard enough at it. By shifting your mindset towards a happier setting, you will let go of worries and give them less chance to enter your future thoughts. Happiness and worry are both choices we make in life. There are several valuable ways to create a mindset that puts you in a happier, more peaceful state of mind. Choose positivity over negativity. Marcus Aurelius, the famous philosopher of the Roman Empire, said, "Our life is what our thoughts make it." If you think terrible ideas and thoughts, your life will be full of fear. If you think happy thoughts, your life will be happier. Control your negative thoughts and turn them into positive ones. Forget your enemies. Holding grudges and trying to get even with old adversaries does nothing but give them back their power. You lose sleep and are nervous, your blood pressure rises, and the list goes on. Your enemies do not deserve this power. Don't expect gratitude. Being grateful is not a natural human trait. It must be learned and learned. If you live your life expecting others to be grateful for the things you do for them, and then get angry when they don't, you will live a life of disappointment. Count your blessings. Dale Carnegie tells us about a businessman who lost everything. He was walking down the street feeling completely defeated when he came across a man who had lost his legs. From that moment on, the man realized that he had more than he thought. Always count your blessings. Be yourself. There is no one like you on the planet, so why try to be someone else? Don't try to fit in. Don't feel bad about the way you look or the things you can't do. Instead, be yourself. Do good deeds for others. By doing something good for someone else every day, you'll feel better, they'll feel better, and you'll promote a positive, optimistic attitude that won't break down worry. Remember that no one can upset you or disrupt your time unless you let them.
Chapter number 8.
Is criticism an impolite compliment? When we receive criticism from others, whether fair or unfair, it's easy to step back, feel negative about it, and start worrying. You have to realize that unfair criticism is a backhanded compliment. When someone criticizes you for no reason, it's because you're doing something that sets you apart from others, i.e., you're accomplishing something that makes people stand up and take notice. Most people get a kick out of putting down self-raisers, which comes in the form of unfair and sometimes hurtful criticism. Learn to take it as a compliment, and you will overcome such problems in the future. As long as you are doing your best, criticism should not bother you. No one kicks a dead dog. Dale Carnegie. Of course, some criticism can be positive, i.e., constructive, and provides us with a platform from which to learn. Dale Carnegie has a folder called FTD, The Basics I Did. In this, he writes things he has done, which is pessimistic. He reads it occasionally and uses the information he gets to learn. Remember that no one is going to help you on days when you don't feel motivated.
Chapter number 9.
Banishing mental and emotional fatigue will help you build a better future. Studies have shown that the brain rarely gets really tired from physical activity or mental work, but becomes tired and exhausted from emotional worries. The respected psychiatrist J.A. Hadfield said, "The greater part of the fatigue we suffer is mental in origin. In fact, exhaustion of a purely physical origin is rare. Check with yourself daily. Ask yourself how you feel, scan your mind and body for fatigue, and be kinder to yourself." Dale Carnegie suggests regular rest to help you overcome such fatigue and help you build mental resilience against worries and unhelpful emotions. You should also find out what makes you tired, what bothers you, and find out what triggers you. This way you can negate them in your life, or at least limit your exposure to them. Focusing on downtime is also vital, so make sure you make space in your life to rest, stretch, relax, exercise, and build a close social circle to de-stress your life. As part of this, you can learn how to work more innovatively to help reduce fatigue at work and give you more time when you get home to focus on the fun things in life. Focusing on the things you enjoy is key to reducing devastating thoughts. Finally, it is a great suggestion to banish boredom from your life. One of the main reasons we worry is because we have time to worry. After all, we are bored. Instead, cut him out of your life. The photographer came home from work with a headache, backache, and general feeling of fatigue. Then her boyfriend called her and asked her to dance, and he immediately energized her. She used to feel that way because she was bored. How many times has this happened to you?
Chapter number 10.
Get regular sleep as it is important for physical and mental health. Insomnia is a huge problem these days, but the fear of not sleeping can be a bigger problem. Everybody needs a definite amount of sleep, with a little bit requiring more than others. The problem is that when you worry about not sleeping, you make it harder to sleep in the first place. Dale Carnegie tells us about one of his students who was struggling with insomnia, concentrating in class, and becoming increasingly stressed due to lack of sleep. He went to a doctor who told him that if he wanted to get over it, he needed to stop worrying about it and realize that he was resting regardless of whether he was sleeping anyway. When the man understood this, he began to sleep much better, and his nervous problems disappeared. Insomnia and general sleep problems can be made worse by worrying about not sleeping. Professor at the University of Chicago, Dr. Kleitman also says that people who have insomnia are actually sleeping more than they realize. If you can't sleep, do this. Get up and read until you feel tired. Don't worry about not sleeping. It won't hurt you. Relax your mind and body. Exercise to physically tire yourself. Try prayer if it works for you.
Chapter number 11.
Manage work and money worries with a simple and straightforward approach. When we are young, we are forced to decide what we want to do with our lives, such as the career we want to follow. This is the biggest stressful settlement that can cause a lot of anxiety and worry. It is important to realize that it is entirely possible to have a number of different jobs and professions during one's lifetime, perhaps failing in some and succeeding in others. The best way to deal with this decision is to listen to what you want, seek sound advice, and try your best to stay calm about reality. This decision can and probably will change over time. You don't have to have it the first time. It may take a few tries before you decide on the career you want in life. One of the biggest reasons people worry is money. Most think that if they could just increase how much money they make, their worries would go away. But that rarely works. The best way is to be smarter with your money and create a budget. These steps will help. Write down all the numbers exactly. Take the guidance and create a reasonable budget. Learn to spend appropriately and wisely. Don't give yourself more headaches by taking on more expenses than you can afford. Make your acknowledged rating for the future. Insure against emergencies such as fire or illness. Avoid having your life insurance policy paid out entirely to the widow in cash. Teach your children how to navigate money. Check out ways to make money on the side. Avoid gambling at all costs. Money is one of the biggest reasons people worry and develop anxiety, but it's worth it. Above all, do what you can to improve the situation. Realize that you are doing your best, and stop wishing for things that cannot be.
As you listen to the detailed summary of the book, now it's time for a conclusion. Learning to stop worrying will be the catalyst to completely change your life. It won't happen overnight, and it's something you'll have to work on. But once you notice changes, celebrate them and keep focusing on the things you need to work on. When you're constantly worrying, you don't have time to work on the things you want to achieve in life. Worries take up a lot more of your time than you realize, while also interfering with your overall health and happiness. If you constantly feel exhausted when you haven't done anything out of the ordinary, you're likely expending energy worrying unnecessarily. Realizing that we have control over our thoughts, and therefore our worries, is a light bulb moment. Once you realize how to turn these thoughts into positive ones, rather than worry-filled negatives, you'll notice a brighter, happier future. In the end, life may be dominated by fear, but it is a choice. You can choose to break free by doing the basics. Sure, sometimes life throws us tough times, but how you deal with them determines whether you'll be a more positive and happy person, or someone who lets the what-ifs lead you through a miserable life. For anyone who struggles with overthinking, learning to tap into it will completely change your life. Think about all the possibilities in life that you're missing out on, because you're focusing on the what-ifs and maybes. It's a big world out there, and you're allowing fear to rule your life. Understand that you are holding yourself in a prison of your own making. It's time to break free. Try it.